Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
Welcome back to the Federal Drive with Terry Gerton on Federal News Network. Federal agencies who fund programs the states administer often face an oversight problem, namely poor or missing state or municipal data. For some ways to improve data for program oversight and management, we turn to Polko's CEO, Nick Mastronardi. There's been a really strong focus on federal data as DOJ takes over the data sets across federal agencies, looking for both efficiencies and fraud. But one side effect is that federal agencies may be losing access to the data they need to measure the performance of federal programs. What are you seeing happen here?
We're just entering an exciting time where so many governments in the United States are starting to adopt data and becoming appropriately dependent on data to measure their performance and see what's going on. So I think it's critical that we figure out ways to retain the data that helps them measure their performance, see their strengths and their weaknesses. So we got lucky in some sense to start to bring these data sets together to characterize and see where things are. But yeah, we need to take stock, see what's out there, put it together, and use what we've got. And we're fortunate to have some historicals, but it's an exciting and an important journey, and we can't lose what we were just kind of coming into.
Well, I know I was even surprised when I worked at the Department of Labor that the U.S. Department of Labor doesn't own the data on unemployment insurance, that's owned by the states in the same way that the states own and originate death data that Social Security ultimately uses. Are there other aspects of performance data on federal programs that really are owned and originated by the states?
Yeah, I know there are a lot of data sets that work that way. The states collect them per federal requirements, and they get mashed together. So yeah, there is a ton of data sets out there, whether they were started by or collected federally, state, and they live in different silos. They all need cleaning. They're all handled differently and being compiled and put together, because when they're put together is where the real insights occur. Or if you just look at one data set by yourself, you can't condition on other things. And so that's a journey that we've been working on for the last couple of years, is whatever data source they're in, clean, compiled, put together. And so you can begin to take these cross-cutting insights and inference from it.
That's a really important point for anybody who's in the data analysis space already knows that you need kind of a uniform structure, that you need clean data, and beyond the basic provisions in a grant about the kind of data that states are going to need to collect, every state does it differently. So how does POLCO get in the middle of that and create clean data sets that then external audiences can use, including federal employees, for better analysis?
POLCO's journey started years ago, and then I think it really accelerated in 2019. We acquired a firm called the National Research Center, and we've become the largest provider of local governments, state and local government surveys across the United States. And when we gather input from residents, we ensure it's statistically significant and representative, and so on that. But the results from those data sets need to be viewed in conjunction with a lot of the other federal data sets that were out there. So we started bringing them together with some academic partners. Stanford's Hoover Institution worked with us. UW-Madison worked with us. But a lot of work went into cleaning. How do they handle duplicates or missing values, and putting it all together so that we could draw the right inference. That was a lot of work. We've been very deliberate in how we treat missing values and duplicates. Different city names and attributions and things. So I don't think your audience maybe want to hear all those data details. Happy to share it at some point. But yeah, that was a multi-year effort together to finally have all those things in a way that can be leveraged in what's called an analytic ready data set. And that's what we've done.
And so a federal analyst, say, who's looking at the TANF program, might have their federal data, but by looking at municipal data and state data, they could get a bigger, more detailed picture of how the TANF program is actually playing out state by state?
Yeah, I'm a recovering economics professor at the Air Force Academy, and the way we would call it there's this, in data analytics, something called omitted variable bias. And if you're not including key variables into your analytics, then you can be misattributing factors and effects on programs. And so I think this critical mass that we recently reached by compiling these data sets together allows us now, for really the first time in a lot of places, to be confident that all of our inference and analytics are not suffering this, scary omitted variable bias. We can really begin to attribute the impacts of different programs and see what's working and what's not. And that's what we just got to. And it's an exciting period. And there's a backlog of amazing analytics for us to start to run. And, we've done a couple dozen that are just absolutely eye-opening for us. But what makes it all possible is we've now overcome the critical mass of this omitted variable bias.
I'm speaking with Nick Mastronardi, the CEO of Polko. So we could wax poetic about being economics instructors at military academies, but we'll get back to the basis of this conversation. So if I'm a new federal analyst or been in a program for a while, but I'm looking for more data, how do I get access to what the states and the municipalities are submitting, these data sets that you're talking about? Where are they?
Yeah, so if you're a federal analyst, you probably have some directly to you, but they're in all different places, and it's tough to query all of them, and even the reporting structures have changed. So even if you find them, then you have to pull them in different layers and handle all this. So what we did was we pulled them all together, cleaned them as I've documented all of this, and we put it into a huge cloud-based performance database for state and local governments and for federal employees to use too. It's called GPAL. It's an acronym. I'll leave it to your imagination. We're actually backing a couple things in there. It's a government performance and analytics, but I don't want to give it all away. So it's all, up in a secure cloud location. You just come to info.polko.us, request, and it's huge. It's not like a single CSV. It's hard to work with on a local machine, but give us a request and we'll help orient you to it and help you kind of figure out some analytics to run on it.
Well, one of the challenges about integrating data sets, especially, ones that are the normal source of performance data, and now, if you were trying to add in new, would be how to put all of those data sets together. Is AI playing a role here in helping you shape the queries and make sense of the results?
AI is powerful. I'll mention it in a second, but I also led data science teams at Amazon for a while. And as much as I want to say being a data scientist is really cool and sexy, like 95% of your work is making sure you're incredibly deliberate and rigorous in your data cleaning. So yes, AI can help a little bit, but we are hands on all kinds of scrubs and checks and triple checks to make sure, because this is a database that is being used for public policy and program implementation and impact people's quality of lives. So AI is at a point where it helps you do great things, but for the cleaning, we're still hands-on and working very closely with it. Where AI comes in, though, is because this data set is really large and it's difficult to use on your own local machine. You need to query at scale at it. And the first amazing capability of AI was to do large scale querying really well. So we have built a couple custom AI agents trained on the data set. Our first was Polly, and you can just ask Polly and say, Polly, which city in Alabama is trending up the fastest in older adult, satisfaction with housing, or declining in X health metrics or whatever. And it can tell you, it's just absolutely amazing and astounding, and render you graphs and time performance comparisons. I think the next step with AI with this data set is you can start building the tools, skills, apps layer where the AI can not only just query, but can actually do some of the analytics and condition. And it's not just doing it all by itself. Again, we're kind of guiding it and training it and teaching it how to do these things the appropriate way. So we're not false inference, but that's exactly where we are in this journey now. Helped a little bit on the cleaning, helps a ton on the query. There's not a lot of room for it to mess things up there. And we're holding its hand as it's beginning to do the analytics at scale to help cities and counties and states take action with the data.
So give me a couple examples of federal programs that you think this information could be especially helpful for.
I'll give you an example. One we just did recently was there's different types of cities out there. There's council manager versus strong mayor, and that governance structure has real measurable impacts on public service delivery. In some areas, council manager is performing really well, but in other areas, strong mayor is really good at delivering some public service. You can imagine why if you're